Are millennials and Gen Z really the poorest generations in recent history? It's a question that has been circulating in the media, in social circles, and even in academic research. To answer this, we must delve into the complex world of economics, societal change, and individual financial struggles that these generations are dealing with. Picture this. You're a young person, fresh out of college, ready to take on the world. But instead of finding a world of opportunity, you're met with a seemingly insurmountable mountain of student debt, skyrocketing living costs, and a job market that's more competitive than ever. This is the reality for many millennials and Gen Z individuals. Now, this predicament isn't just about being unable to afford the latest iPhone or missing out on that dream vacation. No, it's much more serious. It's about the inability to secure basic necessities like housing, healthcare, and even food. It's about the struggle to make ends meet despite working multiple jobs. It's about the constant stress and anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck with no end in sight. But why is this happening? Well, the answer isn't straightforward. It's a complex cocktail of economic conditions, societal shifts, and policy changes. The cost of living, particularly in major cities, has risen dramatically over the past few decades. Simultaneously, wages have stagnated, creating a widening gap between income and expenses. Then there's the issue of student debt. With the cost of higher education soaring, more and more students are graduating with a substantial debt burden, further stifling their financial progress. So, are millennials and Gen Z really the poorest generations in recent history? The evidence seems to suggest so. But it's not just about the lack of money. It's about the lack of opportunities, the lack of security, and the lack of hope for a better future. In this video, we're going to explore these issues in more detail. We'll look at the financial struggles faced by these generations, the reasons behind them, and what can be done to address them. It's a complex issue, but one that we need to understand if we want to build a more equitable and prosperous future for all. Let's dive deeper into why these two generations are facing such financial challenges. To understand the financial struggles of millennials and Gen Z, we need to compare their situation to previous generations. Let's start with the baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964. The post-World War II era brought an economic boom with opportunities aplenty. Education was affordable, jobs were plentiful, and buying a home was within reach for many. The American dream seemed to be a reality for most baby boomers. Then came Generation X, born from the mid-60s to the early 80s. They experienced economic ups and downs from the prosperous 80s to the recession-hit 90s. Yet they were able to recover due to a robust job market and relatively affordable education. Home ownership, though more challenging than for their parents, was still achievable. However, the economic landscape began to shift as millennials entered adulthood. Born from the early 80s to the mid-90s, they came of age during the Great Recession. Jobs became scarcer, competition fiercer, and the cost of education soared. The housing market also ballooned, making homeownership a distant dream for many. And now we have Generation Z, the demographic cohort following the millennials. They are just starting their journey into adulthood, but the outlook is less than rosy. They face an even more competitive job market, skyrocketing education costs, and an increasingly unaffordable housing market. The financial hurdles seem to be getting higher with each generation. The economic circumstances of each generation have been shaped by a range of factors, from global events to domestic policies. The job market, the cost of education, and the housing market have all evolved over time, often not in favor of the younger generations. This isn't to say that baby boomers and Gen X had it easy. They faced their own set of challenges, but the hurdles have become steeper for millennials and Gen Z, and the path to financial stability more treacherous. As we can see, the financial landscape has drastically shifted from generation to generation. The American dream, once seemingly within reach for many, now feels more like a mirage for the younger generations. Now let's focus on the millennials, those born between 1981 and 1996. This is a generation that's had to weather unique financial storms, each with its own profound impact. First off, we have to talk about student loan debt. Many millennials pursued higher education with the promise of better job prospects. But what they got was a mountain of debt. Today, student loans are the second highest consumer debt category, trailing only behind mortgage debt. What's more, the cost of tuition has increased at a rate that far outpaces inflation, making it harder for millennials to pay off their loans quickly. Then came the 2008 recession. Just as many millennials were entering the job market, the economy took a nosedive. Job opportunities disappeared, businesses shuttered, and the unemployment rate skyrocketed. Even when the economy began to recover, the effects lingered. Many millennials found themselves stuck in low-paying jobs, or worse, jobless and struggling to make ends meet. Now let's talk about the housing market. Homeownership is often seen as a rite of passage into adulthood and a key milestone of financial stability. But for many millennials, it's an elusive dream. Rising housing prices coupled with stagnant wages have made it incredibly challenging for this generation to get a foot on the property ladder. To make matters worse, the cost of living has continued to rise. From groceries to healthcare, everyday expenses have increased dramatically. This has left many millennials living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to save and unable to build wealth. These factors have created a unique set of financial challenges for the millennial generation. They're not just up against the usual hurdles of adulthood, but also the aftermath of an economic downturn, a crippling student loan debt crisis, and a housing market that's increasingly out of reach. It's no wonder many millennials feel like they're running a race with no finish line in sight. These factors have created a unique set of financial challenges for the millennial generation. What about Gen Z, those born after 1997? How does their financial future look? Well, let's begin with the elephant in the room, the continuing high cost of education. College tuition fees have skyrocketed over the last few decades, and there's no sign of this trend slowing down. As a result, many Gen Zers are starting their adult lives burdened with massive student debt. This debt can limit their choices, making it harder for them to buy homes, start families, or save for retirement. It's a heavy load to carry, and it's shaping their financial futures. But it's not just about education costs. The job market is changing too. We're shifting towards a gig economy where temporary, flexible jobs are commonplace and benefits like health insurance and retirement accounts are not guaranteed. This can bring a certain level of freedom and flexibility, but it also means less financial stability. Many Gen Zers might find themselves juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. And then there's the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. This global health crisis has triggered an economic downturn that's hit younger generations especially hard. Many Gen Zers were just beginning their careers when the pandemic hit, and they've had to face layoffs, reduced working hours, and a highly competitive job market. This has had a significant impact on their earning potential and savings, both in the short and long term. But it's not all doom and gloom. Gen Z is also known for being entrepreneurial, tech-savvy, and socially conscious. These are qualities that can help them navigate the changing job market and maybe even turn these challenges into opportunities. They're more likely to seek out innovative solutions, to start their own businesses, and to invest in causes they believe in. That's something to be optimistic about. In conclusion, Gen Z faces its own set of financial hurdles, shaped by current and future economic trends. But with their resourcefulness and adaptability, they could still make their mark and build a secure financial future. It won't be easy, but then again, when has it ever been easy? So, what have we learned about the financial struggles of millennials and Gen Z? We've delved into the unique challenges that these two generations face, which are significantly different from their predecessors. The millennials and Gen Z are navigating an economic landscape that's been reshaped by factors like the Great Recession, skyrocketing student debt, and the rise of the gig economy. For starters, let's talk about the aftermath of the Great Recession. This event left a lasting imprint on the financial psyche of millennials, many of whom were just entering the workforce. It's like walking into a party just as everyone's leaving. Not the best timing, right? They've had to grapple with job scarcity, wage stagnation, and a sluggish economy, all of which have made wealth accumulation a steep uphill climb. Now let's not forget about the student debt crisis. Education costs have soared over the past few decades, and millennials and Gen Z have borne the brunt of it. Many are saddled with 5 to 6 figures of student loan debt, which can feel like a millstone around their necks as they try to make strides in their financial journey. And then there's the rise of the gig economy. While it offers flexibility, it often comes at the cost of job security and benefits. This new world of work has left many millennials and Gen Zers in a precarious position, having to juggle multiple jobs just to make ends meet. These factors combined have made these generations poorer than ever before. with less wealth at their disposal compared to their predecessors at the same age. However, it's not all doom and gloom. They're also the most educated generations yet, and they're leveraging technology in novel ways to navigate these financial challenges. While the financial struggles of millennials and Gen Z are real and significant, it's important to remember that every generation faces its own set of challenges. Our hope is that understanding these struggles can help us build a more equitable future for everyone. After all, a problem well understood is a problem half solved, isn't it?